Have you ever stopped to think about why certain people always seem to cross your path, even when deep down you know they aren't good for you? Sometimes, the answer is hidden in something we don't even realize we're doing. Today, I want to invite you on a journey of deep self-discovery. We're going to explore the silent reason why you might be attracting narcissists, and how it has much more to do with emotional patterns than with luck or misfortune. A few days ago, I experienced a situation that made me reflect on this topic. I met someone who, at first glance, seemed incredible, attractive, interesting, charismatic. But there was something about them that bothered me, something I couldn't quite explain. When I looked deeper, I discovered clear signs of manipulative behavior. It was a wake-up call for me. Even with all my knowledge about emotional abuse, there are still automatic triggers that can put us in vulnerable situations. If you've ever asked yourself, why does this always happen to me? Or, am I the one doing something wrong? Stay with me until the end of this video. Together, we'll deconstruct this invisible cycle and transform these weak points into strengths. Get ready to understand the problem and, more importantly, to learn how to change it. My name is Lauren Mitchell, and my purpose with this channel is to show that the problem was never you. If this content resonates with you, like the video and subscribe to our channel. Let's start by understanding the central issue. Why are narcissists attracted to you? What makes some people magnets for narcissists? The answer lies in traits that, at first glance, seem positive and even admirable. Empathy, generosity, and the desire to help others are beautiful qualities. But when poorly calibrated, they can become vulnerabilities. Narcissists have an almost supernatural ability to identify who is willing to give everything without asking for anything in return. They aren't interested in balanced partnerships. They want someone who will fulfill their constant need for validation and control. Codependency is another crucial factor in this dynamic. Codependent individuals tend to put others' needs above their own, often as a way to feel useful or loved. This behavior, though well-intentioned, creates the perfect opening for the narcissist to step in and take control. He knows exactly how to exploit this willingness, offering crumbs of affection while draining your emotional energy. But here's the critical point. This pattern not only attracts toxic relationships, but also reinforces destructive cycles. The more you try to help or save someone, the more you lose yourself in the process. This can lead to low self-esteem, insecurity, and even constant questioning of your own worth. And the worst part? Often, these signs are so subtle that we don't realize we're being manipulated until we're already deeply involved. If you've ever felt that no matter how hard you try to avoid it, you keep attracting the same problematic situations, know that this isn't a coincidence. It's a reflection of internal patterns that need to be observed and adjusted. The first step to changing this is understanding how these traits, which are an important part of who you are, may be acting as invisible bait. Recognizing this isn't a judgment about who you are, but rather an invitation to grow and protect yourself. Now, how does this pattern begin? Understanding how this cycle begins is essential to breaking it. Often, it originates in past experiences that shaped the way we relate to the world. Perhaps you grew up in an environment where you had to prove your worth by helping others or avoiding conflict to maintain peace. These behaviors, learned in childhood, can crystallize into automatic patterns of conduct that, in adulthood, become easy targets for manipulators. The narcissist quickly identifies these traits. He knows that someone who prioritizes others' needs over their own will hardly question his power games. At first, he might even seem charming, a phase known as love bombing. But this is just a carefully planned trap to gain your trust. Once you're emotionally invested, he begins to exploit your vulnerabilities, reinforcing the idea that you need him to feel complete or secure. This process is insidious because it happens gradually. You don't notice when you started giving up your boundaries or when you stopped prioritizing your own needs. Each concession seems small, almost insignificant, but over time, they add up and create an unbalanced dynamic. Before you realize it, you're trapped in a cycle where you give more and more while receiving less and less in return. Recognizing this mechanism is the first step to stopping it. When you start observing how these patterns were built throughout your life, it becomes easier to identify warning signs before the relationship turns toxic. And this awareness has the power to completely change the course of your story. If there is a powerful tool to break this invisible cycle, it is called self-awareness. Understanding who you are, your values, boundaries, and needs is the most effective shield against toxic relationships. Narcissists thrive on emotional confusion and the lack of clarity in others. When you have a strong sense of identity, it becomes much harder for them to find ways to exploit you. Self-awareness does not happen overnight. It is an ongoing process of observation and reflection. In my case, I realized that even though I had studied so much about emotional abuse, there were still automatic patterns within me that needed adjustment. For example, my tendency to want to help others often led me to ignore clear signs of imbalance in relationships. By looking inward, I understood that while this trait is beautiful, it needed to be calibrated so I could use it without compromising my well-being. This inner journey also taught me something crucial: to trust my intuition. Often, when something isn't right, we feel it before we can rationally explain it. It might be a feeling of discomfort or a quiet but persistent voice telling us that something is off. We ignore these signals because we want to believe in people's good intentions. But learning to listen to your intuition can make the difference between staying in a toxic relationship or escaping it before it causes greater harm. Additionally, self-awareness allows you to detect old patterns that still impact your current choices. Recognizing how your past experiences shape the way you relate to others is liberating. You begin to see that attracting certain people is not your fault, but rather the result of emotional programming that can be rewritten. And as you gain clarity about yourself, it becomes easier to set firm boundaries and prioritize connections that truly value who you are. Now that we understand the problem and the role of self-awareness, it's time to talk about practical tools that can be applied daily to protect yourself from toxic relationships. The key here is not just identifying the signs, but also acting proactively to prevent these patterns from repeating. Let's explore some fundamental strategies. The first one is learning to say no. It may seem simple, but many people struggle to set clear boundaries because they fear disappointing others or being judged. Saying no is not selfish. It's a way to respect yourself and preserve your emotional energy. When you clearly define what you are or are not willing to accept, you send a powerful message to the world. Your needs matter. Narcissists tend to avoid people who know how to stand up for themselves because they are not easy to manipulate. Another crucial tool is trusting your intuition. Remember that your body and mind often perceive signals before your conscious mind processes them. If something feels strange or uncomfortable, don't ignore it. Ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? What might be causing this discomfort? By validating your intuition, you create a natural filter that repels problematic people. Investing in therapy is also transformative. Working with a qualified professional helps uncover past traumas and emotional patterns that still affect your relationships. Therapy is not about fixing who you are, but understanding your vulnerabilities and learning to deal with them in a healthy way. It also provides a safe space to practice new behaviors, such as setting boundaries and expressing your needs without guilt. Redefining the concept of self-love is equally important. Often, we are taught to believe that love means sacrificing, giving everything without asking for anything in return. But true love is reciprocal. It means being with someone who values what you offer and reciprocates with the same level of care and respect. Prioritizing your happiness is not selfish. It's a conscious choice to live a more balanced life. Finally, practice mindful observation in your daily interactions. How do people respond to your boundaries? Do they respect your feelings or try to minimize them? These small clues reveal a lot about who is by your side. When you start applying these tools, you create an emotional environment where only genuine connections can flourish. When you decide to confront these patterns and invest in your transformation, something extraordinary happens. You begin to attract people who truly value who you are. Relationships stop being a source of emotional exhaustion and become spaces of genuine exchange, where both parties grow together. This change not only improves your quality of life, but also strengthens your confidence and self-esteem. Imagine living surrounded by light, sincere, and reciprocal connections. People who respect your boundaries, celebrate your achievements, and offer support without expecting anything in return. That is the reality that opens up when you learn to protect yourself from manipulation and prioritize emotional balance. You begin to see love and relationships from a new perspective, one based on mutual respect and shared growth. Moreover, by breaking this invisible cycle, you free yourself from the constant feeling of being stuck in harmful dynamics. Clarity about yourself and your relationships creates a shield against future traps, allowing you to move forward with more ease and security. Remember, the power to change is in your hands. Every step toward self-awareness is a step toward a fuller and more authentic life. If this video brought you any reflection or clarity, share your experience in the comments. Your words may inspire others going through similar situations. Additionally, if you want to continue learning how to identify signs of emotional abuse and build healthy relationships, check out the next video that appears on your screen. See you there, and remember, you are light. Never forget to shine.